Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Today is going to be the second installment in a series of videos that are different from my main ones, where normally my videos are highly scripted video essays. These I just sort of sit back and talk a bunch about a game I like and a bunch of ways that I would adapt or expand or change parts of the story, the narrative, the lore, and specifically for this one, a lot of tonal and thematic changes. Oh, and also, just before we get into it, I just want to give a huge thank you to the over 800 people that have subscribed since I made my last video. It went a lot more viral than I was expecting. It got like 27,000 views the last time I checked, which is insane. So many people left so many kind and really well-informed and thought-out comments, and there have been a lot of interesting dialogues I've seen going on. I just really appreciate anybody that took the time to watch the whole thing, leave a comment, or if they subscribed and watched any of my other videos, or just watching it at all. That means a lot to me. It was a really personal video, it was a really intense video, and it's really cool that that message seems to have actually spread and meant something to some people. Anyways, let's get into the subject of this video, which today is going to be probably my favorite game of all time, Life is Strange. So where my last video was a lot more about expanding the lore and the world building of Detroit Become Human, this one is going to be a lot more about my idea of an adaptation or a remaking of Life is Strange, because I think overall there's not a lot that I would add or subtract really throughout the story, but I think there are a lot of ways to tweak it to make its overall messages more impactful. But so when I say adaptation, that can mean a lot of things, and a lot of the time adaptation implies a switch in medium. And so I want to look at this from a variety of angles, so kind of bear with me throughout. I'm gonna probably switch between, oh, this would make sense if it was a film, this would make sense if it was a remake of the game, this would make sense if it was a show, etc. And with that, I kind of want to start with the idea of adapting this into another game. You know, what would that look like, and how could the overall story be improved while staying in that medium? How can the medium of game be utilized better throughout? So the first thing that comes to mind here, and I've seen a couple people make mods of it because it's kind of a no-brainer, it's insane to me that there isn't a freeform photography feature in this game. I mean, taking photos is one of the main game mechanics, one of the main character traits of Max, is one of the main ways that a lot of the thematic content is portrayed, this idea of looking, this idea of capturing the past. And I was honestly expecting this to maybe be an added feature in one of the remasters or come into any of the other games, but there was no feature, you know, where you as Max could take a photo anywhere, or even a photo mode throughout the game, which honestly just kind of makes me sad in terms of the fact that, like, I would have so much fun taking a bunch of photo mode photos in such a beautiful and artistically rendered game like Life is Strange. Like, I am obsessed with taking photo mode photos in Last of Us and Control, and like even the fucking Sims and whatever. It's actually helped me a lot with honing my eye and my composition recently. So if you're into photography, take some time photographing your Sims in like interesting ways. It'll actually do some good for you in the future. Anyways, I think Life is Strange is a game not only whose plot and everything I just said really lends itself to some sort of extra photography feature, but the game is so beautiful that it's kind of like, how could you not expect that? And I know that like that wasn't as common of a feature in 2015 when the game came out, but the game has come out recently, and other games in the Life is Strange franchise have come out recently. I actually don't know if True Colors has a photo mode. That'd be interesting to find out. I'm thinking, even if that isn't a feature that would, you know, stick around throughout your initial play of the game, like one of the things that I really like about the way that Last of Us part 2 is set up, and maybe the first part's like this, but I love the, you know, new game plus features. Some of them are really stupid, like the, you know, filters, you can like mirror on death or whatever, but I love the, you know, implemented cheats and the various render modes and the models that you can unlock and everything. And I feel like a photography mode or a photography feature would really make sense as like a new game plus feature in a Life is Strange adaptation. And genuinely another feature that should go with like a new game plus and a Life is Strange version of this is to be able to not do any of the fucking bottle games or the fucking Jefferson coming after you or the fucking janitor coming after you, because I know I am certainly not the only one. I have never had a positive experience with getting through any of those little levels in the nightmare sequence, and I have never seen anybody else have a positive experience getting through those levels, and it sucks because that's one of my favorite scenes, one of my favorite sequences in any piece of media ever. It is just such a beautifully surreal summing up of the entire game in these like horrific and wonderful 20 minutes, and it's borderline ruined for a lot of people because fucking Max hey even though this game is a glorified walk around, press some buttons and watch a movie sort of game, that is the worst type of gameplay to add. And you can like very obviously tell that a lot of that stuff is them going, oh, this game doesn't really have a lot of gameplay, maybe we should add some gameplay, and then they add the most god-awful gameplay that could ever exist. Similarly, and again, similarly to the previous video that I made, they have the choice feature and like the choice percentages at the end where you can see either your friends' percentages or like worldwide percentages, but no like narrative choice game will ever have a better menu design than the fucking Detroit flowchart. It's just the greatest possible visualization of how this is implemented. There are a lot of little things in Life is Strange, the more that I've played it and the more that I've seen other people play it and heard other people talk about it, that are choices that have repercussions that last multiple episodes that you might not be able to catch because they're so small if you don't have a larger thing to look at. Like if you're gonna see Daniel at the party or not, or like the whole dead birds or no dead birds thing with Joyce. And I mean, they're so small that like I can't even think of them right now. There's so many tiny things like that that like you aren't really able to pinpoint with the single strict set of choices and choice percentages that they show at the end. And again, Detroit has a feature like that where it like on some of them, if it's like a choice that has had repercussions after a long time, it has a little thing that comes up that's like saved Kara in this chapter, or you know, Connor did this in this chapter, and then you can see very concretely like the consequences of your actions here. And I think especially in terms of like all the fucking multiverses, like multiverse of Max that she creates, there's a need for that. And the last feature that I would really like to add in the game would be the addition of texting choices. I don't remember a time when you're able to change what the text says. You know, normally it's like you just sort of watch the conversation flow. And I find it really odd that if that's such like a pertinent storytelling feature of the game, why there's just like no interactivity allowed throughout, especially because the idea of texting is such like a relatable interactive activity to the target audience. Everybody has had a time where they've had to make a stressful choice while having a text conversation. And like a game that really comes to mind in this aspect is Emily is Away. Throughout the game, it's literally only takes place in like a, you know, recreated AOL Messenger, and you're able to make choices about what text you send throughout the game, but by the end, if you've made the set of choices where your relationship with Emily goes bad, then basically, like, the things that your character says are inevitable no matter what choice you make. And that's so impactful to have that autonomy taken away from you. I've just rarely seen a more apropos visualization of that type of, like, regret than being forced to type, like, how's the fucking weather to this, like, girl that, you know, I've been in love with through my whole, like, high school and college career. And I'm sad that that's something that wasn't available in any of the Life is Strange games. I think that there are a lot of, like, really fucked up text conversations that I wish we could respond to or change. And similar to, like, the, are you gonna talk to Kate or are you gonna go with Chloe? I think there would have been some interesting things to do there. Like, there might have been something to do with Warren and Go Away Babe Babe. And especially, like, the stuff I wish you could respond to the stuff in the nightmare sequence. That's one of my favorite things ever. All those text messages, like the Rachel one where she's like, I'll be seeing you soon, real soon. When Pompadour sends you a text or Joyce, like, fucking yelling at you, it's insane. So my biggest problem with this game as a whole is a problem that I even had with it when I was younger than the main characters and first playing this game. And it's that it's in fucking high school. And it's not high school. It's a liberal arts college. It's an arts college. It's not a high school. And as we'll talk about, the various additions that these French guys make to making it an American high school just take away from so many things and remove opportunities for a lot of other interesting things in the story and a lot of other interesting conversations that could have been going on around the game. Look at it. Look at the people that go there. Look at the things that they do. Look at the photography professor. Look at the ways that they talk about media, that they talk about the things that they make, how money comes into the equation or doesn't in some ways for some students, and how that relates to the student culture as a whole. But then the problem that comes with the student culture is the fact that a bunch of fucking French guys that don't know anything about America decide to make this art school have a bunch of insanely stereotypical high school things going on, like the jocks and, like, Nathan's personality, I'd say about 40% of the time, and the Vortex Club. I feel like a thing that would make much more sense in a world like Blackwell, especially if it was, you know, like a sort of step down from an Ivy League type school, is having a much more, like, secret history sort of thing going on, or a sort of academic secret society, you know, a bunch of fucking WASP guys in, like, togas, like, shouting out rituals in the dark. It just makes a lot more sense for the atmosphere, and I think would actually make a lot more sense for a guy like Jefferson to be a part of that, especially because he would have been a guy that was going to one of these types of prestigious liberal arts or art schools in the 80s and 90s, when people like Dontnod or Bret Easton Ellis were going to schools like this and writing about schools like this. And I just think there's a lot more interesting stuff to be done about legacy and tradition and connection to Arcadia Bay and connection to Nathan and his father. Like, the Vortex Club sounds like something that five guys thought up and, like, wrote on their fucking Snapchat post before they sent it out to have a house party. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying party culture isn't a bad thing, because there's a lot of bad that comes from party culture, and I actually think they portray that kind of shitty frat party culture pretty well, but it just doesn't really have a place here. But if it was some type of Ivy League secret society like Skull and Bones or whatever the fuck, I would believe that that had been around for a really long time, that Nathan's dad had been a part of it, that maybe even Mark had been a part of it, and, like, that's much scarier to me. That's much more nefarious, and again, something that I think fits the environment a lot more. I don't think that the student population of a school like Blackwell would be, you know, socially swept up by the people in the Vortex Club. I think that people that would be going to that school and participating in the type of work that it seems like they're, you know, attempting to participate in, especially from the ways that, like, other people in the town talk about Blackwell as a prestigious academy, I just wouldn't expect them to be liked, you know? Like, I know firsthand from going to a liberal arts school, the people that are the most popular are not the people that were the most popular in high school, and that's because if you're at a place with a bunch of outcasts, then the popular people are the outcasts. And so I would assume that that type of clique just wouldn't have that type of reign over these types of people. Victoria is a different story because she fits into both of these groups, and I've seen people like her at these types of schools, like, fucking brainwash half of the population. But then you look at the other parts of her and you look at the sort of Regina George archetype that she's fitting, and that's where I think a lot of her as this powerful figure starts to fall apart. And actually, just the final note on Life is Strange and how it functions a lot more like young adulthood than adolescence is this whole concept of homecoming. And obviously it narratively makes sense. I mean, Max is a high school student who moved away from her hometown and is coming back to go to high school there, but that concept of homecoming, and specifically the ways that Max talks about it throughout the game, are so much more universally relatable to young adults who have moved away from home, generally because of college or for a job or whatever. And actually, this focus on adulthood kind of transitions very nicely into the next topic that I want to talk about, but I'm not going to go too deep into this because I actually talk about it in one of my other videos, the video about Twin Peaks and its influence on Life is Strange. But I think there are a lot of pretty intense topics that the game discusses throughout, and I think that they shy away from some more glaring but also more impactful presentations of these issues because of the setting. The subject matter doesn't really lend itself to being able to talk about that type of stuff in a more overt way. But I think that the game would have a lot more to say if they didn't consistently, you know, sort of use photography as a stand-in for the sexual abuse that Mark and Nathan are obviously subjecting the female population of Blackwell to. If you had these people in situations where these types of issues are more regularly talked about, and not even that they're, like, less heavily stigmatized, but that I think in general being an adult means you're going to be more available to have a conversation about that sort of thing, as well as the fact that from a viewer's perspective, it's going to be easier to not only stomach what's going on, but be able to actually explore how you feel. So anyways, that's sort of, and I talk about it a lot in the other video, and I've spent a lot of time talking about stuff like this on my channel, but specifically something I didn't talk about in the other video is Max and Mark Jefferson's relationship. I think it's so disturbing how he sees this potential in her, and this is what he wants to do with it. And the way that he wants to hold her as a captive, but have her as an equal while she's there, is such a disturbing dynamic and, you know, such a frightening type of control, such an evil and intelligent type of control. It's like, I'm always more disturbed by types of people that can see every option, you know what I mean? And this is what they choose, rather than people that just kind of blindly do horrible things. Like, he's smart enough to know that she has potential as an artist and is smart enough to know that whatever he's going to do is going to break her. And he's willing to make that bargain in order to have whatever weird protege, partner, slave fucking deal he wants to have with her. And I think the game was very upfront about the grooming that Mark was doing towards both Rachel and Victoria. But the fact that he respects Max as an artist makes this so much more intimate. And so another relationship like that Mark has is obviously the relationship that he has with Nathan. And this is one that I am so fascinated by, and they really rarely touch on, which sucks, but I mean also makes sense because obviously there isn't really a lot of time once you find out all this stuff. You're really just kind of going. And I think that's sort of where something like a TV show adaptation would come in. I think there's so many different stories throughout Arcadia Bay that I'm really interested in, but there isn't, and I just realized that the pun that I unintentionally made a couple sentences ago, really a lot of time. There isn't time to explore all of these stories because we're so focused on Max. And I'm not totally sure how I would feel about a Life is Strange that's not from Max's perspective, but at the same time, I'm really interested in an idea of an expanded Life is Strange that's sort of from the perspective of Arcadia Bay itself. Before I get into Mark and Nathan's relationship specifically, I think another thing that a more omniscient perspective would make available to a long form television sort of adaptation of Life is Strange are a variety of flashbacks of things that are either referenced in the game or seen in the game but not fully, or implied throughout the game. Like, I've always, and one day I'll do it, but I've always wanted to make some fan art of when David is trailing everyone and he writes all the different things he sees, and at one point he sees Rachel and Frank at the lighthouse trafficking a bunch of drugs. And I've always wondered, in that sense, did Rachel know what was going on? Was she as disturbed by David as Kate was? And similarly, we see letters and photos of Rachel and Frank, but obviously we don't get to see any of their relationship actually play out, and we don't see it in Before the Storm either. We see a photo that Nathan takes of Chloe after he basically assaults her and she hits him with a lamp and everything. At one point you can find the photo of Kate at the party, but again, we don't see the video of Kate. And another thing that's much more vague, but I'm still very interested in, is Max's previous life in Seattle. She says something about her old friends at one point, and there's a photo of them, but we don't know a lot about her parents. We don't know a lot about her friends. Obviously we know a lot about Chloe's family and about other families in Arcadia Bay, and I'm interested in them too. And so then another flashback that I would love to see is how Nathan and Mark got started on all of this. I don't know if they ever actually go into that. I think Mark and Nathan's relationship is fascinating, that they have this teacher, mentor, partners, secret keepers, pseudo father, and at the same time, obviously with these power dynamics, Mark is grooming Nathan, but at the same time, Nathan is paying for all of this. So Nathan has a financial hold over him, and we never really find out if Sean Prescott knows what's going on in his bunker and where all that money's going and everything. So either he has a hand in this and this is a threefold operation, or he doesn't know what's going on, and not only are Mark and Nathan keeping the secret from everybody, they're keeping a very specific, very expensive secret from Nathan's father. And I mean, we know Nathan has a very negative relationship with his father. We don't know anything about his relationship with his mother, really. Even though we know his family keeps him well stocked, they're obviously over medicating him in ways they're not helping and not listening to him or being the supports that they need to be. And we don't really see it, but I wonder how much of an emotional crux Mark has become for Nathan, and or how much of a pushback Mark has towards being that. If he's like, this is all business, or he's like, yeah, I'm your new dad now, or he's like, haha, it's funny that you want me to be your dad. I'm gonna play along just so that you do what I want. And a thing that makes me really sad about their relationship is the fact that, this is another scene I'd love to see, is Mark killing Nathan. How did that go down? You know, did he just like fucking look at the flowers him? It just makes me so sad to think that he is trying to prove himself to Mark in a way that he couldn't to his father, and the way that Mark repays that is literally like shooting him in the fucking head. It's like, oh my god, like, have you ever felt anything? And to be able to throw away a relationship like that in an instant is just so, it is one of the coldest things that I think Mark does, and it's never really touched on because so much is happening in that last episode that we only really find out about it for a couple seconds and then we're on to the next thing. And just in general, I think there's a lot more that could have been done with Nathan, and I think they fucking butchered him in Before the Storm. I think generally there's a lot I could say about Before the Storm and Life is Strange 2. I am not the biggest fans of either of them for a variety of reasons, but one of the reasons that I dislike a lot of the world building of Before the Storm is that they just take all the criticisms I had about Life is Strange in high school and like ramp them up times a fucking 1,000. And Nathan is such a weird example of that. Obviously though, it seems like he was a larger player at the end of the game because there are like unused clips of him being like, I know about the storm and all this shit, and it's like, what? Like, what did he know? Does that mean the Prescotts are in on it? Like, is there some fucking Blackwell or Arcadia Bay magic that they're trying to harness that they already knew about? Like, does he have powers? There are so many questions that brings up. Oh, okay, and actually the last Nathan note is such a weird little nitpick, but something that I've thought about a lot about this game and have no idea what they were planning to do or why it's in here or whatever, aside from one thing. And that's the Prescott Foundation or Nathan's dad or whatever are like, they have this whole development project called the Pan Estates, and like it comes up in little conversations or in news articles or whatever, and it's like on like Native American land and all this stuff. And then like in the alternate universe, Joyce is working there, and so I feel like that obviously had to be something that they were gonna do something more with. Again, aside from the fact that I think it's an obvious allusion to the Ghostwood Estates project in Twin Peaks, the thing that Ben Horne is doing and then that he ends up not doing because of the fucking... But aside from that, that can't be it, because it's like too much to be an Easter egg, but not enough to mean something. But it obviously meant something and they took it out, and so I wonder what that meant. And obviously if this was going to be a larger thing and you're exploring all these aspects of Nathan's story, this is something that I feel like would have to come up. Alright, so that was a lot about a couple of random things. I hope you enjoyed that. I don't have a lot of more general criticisms that I've seen a lot of other people have. Like, a lot of other people have problems with the cringy dialogue. I fucking love the cringy dialogue. That's what you fucking sound like when you're like that. And that's something that has taken me a while to accept. When I was younger, I was like, these fucking French guys don't know shit about how we talk. This sounds so stupid. And the older I get, the more I'm like, no, that's correct. I mean, it's obviously my favorite game for a reason. It's beautiful, it's touching, it's compelling. There's so many things going on in this story in so many ways that it branches out not only narratively but thematically. And I think it just really captures a moment. I will always appreciate it, obviously from a nostalgic point of view, but as this sort of cultural landmark to touch back on and reflect on what it meant to be a teenager or a young adult in the early to mid 2010s. I know that there is actually apparently an adaptation for TV in the works, and apparently Shawn Mendes has an executive producer credit on that, so I'm a little on edge. I'm not expecting much. I'm expecting a lot more from the Last of Us series. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this video. I always have fun making stuff like this, and I hope it, comes across in the work. And again, thank you so much. Now, actually, at the beginning of when I started recording this video, it was 800, but now thank you so much for 900 subscribers. It's been insane to watch how quickly this has gone up, and I appreciate every single one of you so much for sticking around for the long haul. Yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts about this in the comments, and anything else that you guys would like to see in an adaptation of Life is Strange, whatever medium it may be, or what you loved about the game, I will talk this game into the fucking ground, so please ruminate in the comments as you will. Anyways, thank you so much for watching the video, and I'll see you next time.